Hi, I'm Jenny Pace, and you're listening to the Better Business Podcast. This is the place for makers, solopreneurs, and product-based business owners to get tips, advice, and inspiration on running their business that's profitable, it's fun, and that's kind of what you want to be doing with your life. I can't wait to share my tips and ideas, to share book reviews, and to help you run a better business for life.
Hello. Welcome. I'm really excited about today's episode. Sasha from Frank is a true kindred spirit for me. She used the phrase rebel journaler, and my internal approval system went ding, 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 because that is entirely how I identify as well. So I'm really excited to bring this to you as well. Sasha is one of the most true and authentic and real and light places that I have found in this noisy, busy world. This is a great episode about just making yourself a priority, exploring your world with your words, as Sasha says, and making space for what comes up. Sasha does this through journaling. So do I. We talk about processing feelings in order to be true to yourself and your business, that kind of head and heart stuff. I absolutely adored this conversation with Sasha, and I hope that you will too. I really encourage you to seek her out on Instagram and online and do anything that she ever puts out there, because she's amazing.
I'm actually really glad that I've got internet access back. My dad decided that we needed to change internet provider, but the timings that he did so was over Christmas with all of the bank holidays, and I was like crossing my fingers because they pushed it back by a few days, and I was like, I need to record a podcast, please be back on by the end of the week. So I've had the internet for 2 days and I've basically just been glued to anything with a tab, just delighted that I can stream and cast and type away.
It has definitely changed my relationship with the internet. Like going from, that feeling like in December where you're just like, oh, I don't want to engage with anything anymore. I just want to, and then it's like, now I'm like, anyone posting a story, I'm like, please tell me your thoughts. I've missed everyone's thoughts.
I think mine, because I went away from I say the internet, but largely social media, any kind of like front-facing stuff like Instagram for pretty much all of December. And I came back in January and I kind of dipped my toe in. I was a bit like, oh, no, I still quite like being in my bubble. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Not quite ready. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your work and your story?
Sure. So my name is Sasha and I write, it's not really an alias, but I write under the brand Frank, which is largely about feelings, frankly. I write about my own journey from self-doubt and moving towards self-trust as it unfolds, in the hope that it inspires or motivates or just kind of reflects something that somebody else can see, that we go through things, we go through the ringer in life, but we can still live with priority and autonomy, and we can live with self-doubt, but we can do the things that we want to do. I've been writing since I was 8 years old in some guise, but it's only when I got to about 34 that I deigned to give myself the label of writer. And I've been kind of leaning into that as a professional experimenter ever since the beginning of 2020. So what that has looked like for me has been writing commissions. I've started doing some freelance creative content creating stuff. And actually a large part of it has always been for me quite privately, my journaling. And I started sharing that, and I had a lot of people ask me, oh, what's this about? I like your prompts. I like the way you write. I like the way you explore your mind. So when I was put on furlough last February, I think it was. I've lost track of the years. I don't know. I took the opportunity and thought, okay, well, right. If you want to do something with this, if you think this is another avenue that you want to explore, now's the time. You don't know how long this is going to last. So since February of last year, I've been hosting online journaling workshops, just showing people how I do it. I come up with a theme and some questions, and I invite people to make themselves a priority, block out some time, and come and journal with me in the moment and explore their worlds with words, is what I say. I'm quite a rebel journaler, and I'm like, it doesn't have to look like anything you've seen in the internet. It doesn't have to be pretty. We're just gonna hang out and make space for what comes.
I love it. This is why I think you stand out online in general because of your approach to exploring these things, but we are definitely kindred spirits. The fact that you said rebel journaler, I'm just like, yes, correct. That is, yep.
I feel like I don't know. I know there's certain types of ways of journaling, and I know the benefits of like positive psychology and gratitude and stuff like that, but sometimes I like to think I infuse real life, and I'm like, do you know what? Yeah, I'm grateful, but I'm also really annoyed about X, and there's space for both things to exist on the page and in real life. I think I just try and take a bit of a soft realist, but also a bit compassionate approach to it all.
Yes. I mean, you are so... I want to say you're like a beacon of light to me, and that definitely is true, but also maybe a beacon of truth.
That scares me. Not gonna lie, that scares me.
Terrifying. Why does that scare you?
I don't know. Because I think I'm just me, and I don't think I'm anything special. I struggle. I feel like I could potentially should, but I hate that word, be a lot better and a lot further in the things I'm doing. I could be more professional. I could have more of an idea of marketing and where I'm going if I want to turn this into a proper business. But there's no other person I can be apart from myself. So I'm just like, look, I'm trying these new things. I'm trying these creative avenues. I think there's something there. In fact, I know there's something there. And so as well as showing people how I write, how I explore worlds with words, how I am taking steps to kind of build on things and understand business and pivot and sway, it's going to be messy because we are messy humans.
Yes, correct. So, okay, let me just check in with what I just heard. You are you.
Mm-hmm.
It is not polished.
Mm-mm.
You don't have a perfect plan to get you from here to wherever you want to be.
Absolutely not.
It's going to be messy, but you're going to follow your truth of who you are, what you do, the actual deeper truth and wisdom that you experience. I mean, yes, I want that way more than, so I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to make 6 figures, and then this is going to happen. And this is beautiful. And I don't know, like, that is so much more interesting and relatable and inspiring to me than I had this idea, I did it all perfectly, and now I'm just successful.
And I think I've heard a quote over the last few years that says something like, write from your scars, not your wounds. And I've always really liked that. But for me, I write from not a fully healed scar. So like I write in the moment. I'm not fully deeply in it. I'm far enough removed from it, so I'm not just venting on the internet. But I think that is definitely part of what I do and how I'm growing and how I'm learning and unlearning as a human and traveling along this process.
Yeah. And do you find, because that quote makes me think like, okay, yeah, publicly,
Yeah.
I write from the scar.
Mm-hmm.
Privately, in the journal,
Mm-hmm.
I have to write from the wound.
Oh, yeah. My journal is my freedom space. I write whatever. If they say dance like no one's watching, I write like no one's ever gonna read it because, well, they shouldn't. But even if they did, I'm like, well, this is just me. Yeah, I write for joy. I write for every emotion. I scribble on my pages. I write angrily. I only write in half sentences. I write in capital letters. I write about my fears. I write about my hopes. I write about why I don't think I'm worthy of certain things. And I challenge myself a lot in my journal. And it's very cathartic, and I always try and follow it up with, not follow it up, I try and build compassion into it, but then I also try and follow up what I'm writing with okay, so where do we go from here? What's a how? And I try and figure out how I can take my thoughts on the page into my real life, because I don't just want those to be like pages full of trauma, because I mean, there's benefits to that, I guess, in just getting it out. But I also like the idea of what can I take off the page and use in my real life to make the things I want to make happen.
I mean, that is amazing self-coaching, first of all. Like, let me just figure all of this out and then find a next step that I can actually do. And I don't know, when I talk about processing stuff, because I think coming from a business angle, we have to process the feelings in order to move forward. Yes. And creatively as well. You know, I had this idea, I tried my best and it didn't work, and I have loads of feelings about that. Or I'm here doing my work in my corner of the world and someone has basically stolen all of my ideas and copied them and put them on the internet, and I have some feelings about that. And we can't move forward. It's very hard to move forward positively when we're in all those feelings. So I really believe in processing those feelings. And for me, that is in my journal and, you know, sometimes speaking with another human that I can trust to work it out. But it sounds like that's a similar process for you, that it happens in the journal.
Yeah, it happens in my journal. My journaling isn't always writing either. Sometimes I just speak voice notes to myself into my phone as like audio journaling, because my brain is moving too fast to even slow down to write. I know that there's a benefit of writing with your hand instead of typing on a screen, but sometimes I just do what I need in the moment and I try different things. But yeah, it's a very big place for processing and making sense of myself and making sense of the world, or at least trying to.
Yes. I love the voice note thing. I haven't really done that so much, but it sounds like a really good way to get it out quickly.
Yeah, it's. I used to have to drive, I'd say about close to an hour to get to work, and the time I'd have to leave, like sometimes I would just sit and record and almost talk to myself in the car. But to me, expression is expression whether it's on a page or in a voice note. It's about being able to slow down enough or get quiet enough to hear your honest thoughts about things.
And what has it been like starting to guide other people through that process with your journaling workshops?
I think I thought it would feel really scary, because I say, you know, I'm not a coach, I'm not a mentor, I'm a writer, I'm someone who connects well with words, and I'm going to try and I'm going to show you how I do that. And if it feels good to you, then you join in. And usually I feel a lot of pressure and responsibility, because I don't want to let anyone down or build their expectations up and think, oh, I'm gonna go to this journaling thing, and then at the end of it, I'll have figured it all out. These are either conversations you're starting with yourself or ongoing conversations. And that's what I facilitate in helping people to do, to just to hear themselves. And I don't necessarily see it as me doing anything other than asking the questions I actually ask myself regularly. I like to think about reframes of things and reframes of shoulds, and that's how I bring a lot of the compassion into my work and into the questions and the prompts that I bring up within the themes. But yeah, I thought it would feel very pressure filled, but actually it just feels like a natural extension of something I do for myself anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that feels really akin to what we were talking about earlier, like that this isn't about come and do this hour-long session and you'll suddenly know everything. Like, it's like, come and be in relationship with yourself, and there you will find some answers some of the time.
Yeah. So it's difficult to kind of quantify in a way what I do, because I might ask questions that you're not in the mood to answer today, or that just don't connect with you. And so I always say, like, listen, this is intuitive journaling. If a prompt doesn't bode well with you today, don't write about it. Or if you're still like got streams of things to write or say about the last one, mute me and carry on. So yeah, I think it's just providing a space to explore and hear your mind. I can't promise answers. I can't promise answers, but I can promise a space, and hopefully a space for compassionate reframe and honesty between yourself and the page.
Yeah. Oh God, I'm so desperate for it. I'm so like, can we just do that now? Like, just like a little private journaling session. Like, we're coming out of the Christmas holidays. I've been parenting without childcare for like 100 years at this point. Like, please, can I just have that time to talk to myself?
5 minutes to myself.
Yeah. So what's a common place that you start?
In my own journaling, I always start with, I guess it is a grounding prompt, the same prompt I've started with whenever I pick up my journal, which isn't necessarily every day, because like I say, I'm a rebel journaler and I don't like rules in my journal. So I'm like, but I always start with these 3 prompts for myself. They're just 3 bullet points, and it's body, mind / mood, and sleep. Because those are the 3 things that guide any day for me. And because I'm a morning person, I tend to always journal in the mornings. That's why I ask about my sleep. And I feel like I've gone from insomniac in my 20s to, if I don't get the right amount of sleep, the whole day is just not going to function. And I just go to these like brief little data points that I could even journal on, these little bullet points, while I'm waiting for the kettle to boil first thing in the morning. It doesn't have to be 15, 20, 30 minutes of deep introspection. It could just be like, body feels like this, mind feels like this is what's on my mind immediately, and this is how my sleep was. And those things help me to think, okay, well, this is what was on my to-do list today. Is it wise to keep that on there? Or, I've woken up with more energy today, so maybe I can do this and see to this task. It's just a daily check-in. And then in the journaling sessions, I'll always start with a grounding prompt, kind of similar to that. It could be anything. It could be linked to the theme that we're going to look at that point. But I like grounding prompts because I think they bring into context what is going on for you and what you're bringing to that session, and it can kind of inform what you right, because you might be in a really bad mood. You might have just had an argument with someone 5 minutes before you jump on the call, and you've decided, I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm not in the mood. I'm really angry, but I'm gonna turn up. And I think a grounding prompt just allows you to say, you know what, I'm gonna write. I'm gonna attend this session, but this is what I'm bringing to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like this is the weather.
This is the weather. My friend Bianca Bass has the best prompt, and she always asks, what is the weather in your mind? And I just think it's one of the best prompts I've ever heard, because it's a way to kind of, you can visualize without necessarily finding the words yourself, but it really is a great expression and a great jumping off point.
Yeah, that I got goosebumps at that question. That's a really good one, because I talk a lot about head and heart and getting them in alignment for business, but also for life. And it is that, like, what is your head? Our heads are really great. We've got supercomputer brains. They're amazing, but they can get really tangled up. And that weather question is like, like, what is the weather? Are you seeing clearly, or is it really foggy today? Like, that's a really great one. I love it.
All these things, they just help you to navigate your day. For me, journaling isn't necessarily something I have to make time for. It's something that helps kind of ground me and helps me navigate the day. It's a part of it.
Yes, same. Right now I would do it all day long if I could, like, just like constantly.
Yeah.
Like, do a thing, journal about the thing, like journal about what I want to do next, and then go do that thing. I mean, I've definitely had many days of my life that have been like that. Like, yeah, in conversation with myself, I guess that's when I feel like deeply in relationship with myself. Yeah. So I love rebellious journaling. Do you feel like you're a rebel in general?
If you'd have asked me this question about 3 years ago, I'd have said absolutely no. I took Gretchen Rubin's 4 Tendencies quiz, and I am 100% an obliger. However, a lot of life has happened in the last 3 years, I think, for everyone, but also individually. And I probably still am an obliger, because I respond very well to outer accountability, but I am most definitely in an extended period of obliger rebellion. I am questioning everything. I've pulled everything out of the drawer of my life, and I'm like, right, what goes back in? You? No. You? Out. You? And I just seem to be breaking rules and saying no. It's a little bit alien, but it's actually also quite freeing.
So you were like, I'm totally obliger, but now I'm like making these choices and they're different and it's freeing. Do you think you had like full obliger rebellion where you had to swing the other way, or do you think you just uncovered a truer version?
I think I had entire obliger rebellion, and I think it's probably because the main decision I'm thinking about is that I ended a very long-term relationship pretty much in the middle of the pandemic, and I pushed that decision as far down the road as possible until I came to a point where I was like, not one more day can pass. And since that initial, I think, decision, everything else has just been up for review. It's felt like anything that's been a should or a maybe or something I'm doing just because I've always done it and that's the way it's always been done, has, like I say, been up for review. And that kind of moves through relationships, friendships, what work looks like for me now, where I live, who I'm living with, and looking forward at how I think I want to live life from now on.
I mean, I relate to it massively, but like, it's big.
Yeah, it's probably taken the best part of a year to even come to the thought that there's some semblance of a new self. I'm still largely a kind of big amorphous blob that doesn't make any sense to I don't make any sense to myself anymore. But I think for sure journaling, when I've had the capacity to do so, has helped me massively process. And that's what we said earlier, it's about processing, and I've had a lot to process.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you talk about a new self, and I think we just go through these phases of new identities, right? And
yeah,
that's where we kind of all are always moving through different identities, but to end a very long-term relationship is a massive shift.
And it just felt like everything ended, like everything I've ever known ended. My thoughts about adulthood, milestones, and marriage and motherhood and expectations, what I take on from other people, like I say, what work looks like. Do I want to do this anymore? Who presented me with this career ladder? Do I even want to be on this ladder? I don't want it. It really set off a chain of events, that's for sure.
Yeah, and so kind of, I mean, we hear the rebellion, but there's also some questioning, right? I mean, it sounds like there's questioning in your journaling practice, but there's also questioning just using that muscle of like, is this it? Is this it?
Yeah, there's a lot of questioning, because I think for me, I thought, once I make this decision, then I'll have freedom, or moving to try out freelance work and being self-employed, then I'll have freedom. Freedom is really hard. It's not necessarily what everyone makes it out to be, because you are your only guide, and all you necessarily have to go off is where you are now, what led you to this moment, and your past experiences. And a lot of my past experiences were based on things that I just didn't kind of believe in anymore, or didn't want anymore. And I was like, who do I look to? Where do I look to? Wait, I'm steering this ship? Oh my gosh.
Does anyone know that I'm just here steering this ship? Like, what?
Where are the adults? What's going on? Freedom isn't always easy. Sometimes, like, you think it's the getting to the door and opening it and walking into, like, stepping over the threshold, that's the hard part. That's not the hard part.
That's not the hard part.
It's not the hard part. It's the navigating afterwards. It's like, okay, I've got this wide expanse now. Where do I go?
Yes, I want to create this life that is really deep and meaningful to me, and I don't want to follow anyone else's rules. So now I have to do this work of, what do I actually want? And how do I actually get there?
And these are questions I'm still asking myself.
I don't know if they go away. I think it's constant. I think if we're choosing this path of not a career ladder, not married at 25, have kids by 30, and then just sail off into the sunset. If we're not doing any of those things, what do we do? And how do we...
Answers on a postcard, please.
Yeah, I think we've equated freedom with total certainty and knowing all the time.
And that's not. I think freedom it's a heck of a lot of uncertainty, but it's giving yourself the permission to explore other and or maybe both. All of these new lanes.
What are all the sides of the equations of this choice that I'm making or this experiment that I'm running? Like, I think I might want this thing. And in order to make that happen, I have to do this work and not choose this other thing. And does the cost of that all weigh up?
It's just, you see, I have very strong feelings at the moment about the word work, or when it's put into anything. I don't even want to call my journaling sessions workshops anymore, because I'm like, we don't need any more work. We don't need any more work. We work out. Like we're doing the work. I'm like, it's too much work.
Yeah. No further labor is required. Yes. I'm loving these strong feelings.
I'm just having a lot of resistance to it. I'm like, more work. There's more to be done. Really?
Seriously? And you're kind of at the beginning of a freelancey journey, right?
Yeah.
So that shift is always, or often has, it can be a steep learning curve of understanding.
Yeah. It's also bringing a lot of, here's the word again, work, into my journal about limiting beliefs. Again, because this is a kind of like it's a freedom space and a freedom opportunity for me to decide how I'm going to make some of my money in this world. But it's bringing up a lot of like limiting beliefs, a lot of stories I didn't necessarily know I was reading, but clearly am, now that I kind of get to decide certain things, and about how much time and about what work looks like and how much of it I think I have to do and where I have to do it. And it's a whole new learning and a whole new situation for me. So yeah, very steep learning curve.
It's, I think anyone listening who has started a business or decided to go freelance or had this entrepreneurial thing. And again, it comes back to that like freedom. Most of us do this stuff because we have an idea for a better way of earning a living. And we think we're going to do it for this freedom or something more resembling freedom. And then we realize that our own brains are the door that keeps us in certain patterns of behavior and limiting stuff. So that is a familiar story to me, that's come up for you in the last year as you've started making these changes.
I mean, I'm hoping to not get past it, because again, I feel like with most things, like with self-doubt or dealing with shoulds, a lot of this stuff never goes away, but at least hope I can get to new levels and or quieten certain parts of it as I move through.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing it so early in your business journey. Like, it's part of your landscape anyway. You already have this self-awareness, self-reflection practice. So that's amazing to come into this world with that.
I'm hoping that's a good thing. And that it does continue to be something good to have in my toolbox even.
Yeah. Do you feel courageous?
Me today, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because I am giving myself permission to try different things and to not be sure and to do it and be seen doing it. and to try experiments, see what works, to worry about maybe people's perceptions of me, but then think and try it anyway. I absolutely do think I'm courageous. Yeah.
I mean, I know you are, but I wanted to check in with whether you knew it too. Yeah.
It feels even a big thing to say that. In a weird way, I think it feels a bit big-headed, but I'm trying to tell, not my inner child, because my inner child wouldn't care, but like, I don't know, I'm trying to tell sticks with stories, Sasha, that it's okay to say certain things about yourself. It's okay to be like, yes, I am. Yes.
Yeah, it is okay. It is okay to say things about yourself that you are the boss of those things. Like, you're the boss of whether you feel courageous. I'm not, no one else can tell you that or deny it. I mean, they can say the words, but like, they can't really change it.
No.
Do you have like I'm trying to think of the word, like, do you have a support team behind you, like in terms of friends and people cheering you on? Do you have these conversations with other people?
It depends. Well, no, I think yes, but they're separate and sometimes they blend into each other. So I have one particular WhatsApp group that's just made up of my friends, a couple of my friends, and we voice note and hash out everything.
Yeah.
Whatever the topic is. So sometimes it might be something that I'm thinking about doing or trying, and even if they don't necessarily get it, they'll still talk to me about it from a friend's perspective, or even from a perspective of, oh, if I saw this and I was thinking about buying it, then this is what I would think. And that's really useful. What I am really grateful for over the last year or so is that I've developed a lot of friendships and networks where I am following other women, largely women, who are self-employed and running their own businesses. And I've been really grateful to be privy to have certain conversations with them and spaces where we can be vulnerable and be like, I don't think this is working. I don't know what I'm doing. What do you think about this? What price should this be? I don't feel comfortable with that. And I have built up quite a good network of women where I can have those discussions, and I'm really grateful to be that sounding board for other people and also to have that for myself.
Yes. It's both ways, and it's valuable when it's both ways. To give and receive feedback is a great dual accomplishment because you get used to both ends of the spectrum. So what's present for you right now? Like, what are the things that you're thinking about and working on, not working, playing with?
Okay. Well, I think at the end of last year, I decided I was going to have December away from the internet. I realized last year that space is really important to me. One of my friends was like, well, why don't you just do journaling sessions every week, and then you could make all the money that you want to do without having to go to work part-time or whatever. And I said, that's great, but I do not have the capacity for that, and that's not how I want to steer this freelance ship. So I decided at the end of last year, I'm going to try and treat myself like a child a little bit and almost give myself half terms away from the internet and stuff, because I think we're pretty good at like taking 2 weeks off in the summer and maybe taking 2 weeks off in December, and I'm like, every 6 weeks these children get some kind of break. I need that too. If we are all just our inner child, we all need more breaks than we're giving ourselves.
It is way
it just makes way more sense, right?
Right? So I think what I'm trying to do is almost whatever I do in business and in freelance work this year, I kind of want to work in term times. They're my own kind of term times, but I'm like, okay, we're going to have January to March, then we're going to take April off, then we're going to have May, June, July, and then we're going to have our summer holiday, and then we'll come back for the last bit, and then we're going to disappear again in December. And that's my experiment this year. We're going to see how that goes. I think it feels a lot more sustainable, to be honest with you.
It feels a lot more like true to energy levels.
Because otherwise, I think because I'm right at the beginning of my freelance journey, it feels like you have to say yes to everything to keep the momentum going and to be known, and I'm just like, I can't do that. My brain does not work like that. So this is what I'm trying this year.
So interesting, because I feel like that makes me think about, so I was 27 when I started my business, and I had so much energy, and I was like, so I wasn't a parent. I became a step parent really soon afterwards, but didn't have any full-time kids, man, that just drag you down, drag your energy down. So like, I would be really curious about other people's experience of starting a business like in your mid-30s and onwards, because I feel like it's a different vibe.
Interesting.
I feel like I was still in my 20s, and okay, I was like, wise and stuff, but like I had all this energy and I could just be like, yep. And then it wasn't till I was like, literally, I think the year I turned 30, and I was like, no, no, this isn't going to work anymore.
I'll tell you though, there is something I battle with in my mind, and I know it's a useless argument, but it's one that I have with myself nonetheless, which is I almost feel a guilt for being like, who are you to build all of this space into your business? You're only doing, well, of what people see, you're only doing journaling workshops once a month. There's other stuff going on in the background and other different types of work that I do. But there is a guilt, because in a way, because I'm like, well, you're not partnered, you don't have children to look after. Why do you have this space? And yet you want even more.
I mean, like, I think that might be some imposter syndrome, and I think it might be some internalized patriarchy. Like, how dare you just take up space for being a human? Like, who do you think you are, like, taking a break?
Yeah, you haven't earned that rest. You haven't ground yourself into the...
You haven't completed all the tasks in the world.
Yeah, everything on this extended to-do list has not been ticked off, so where do you think you're going?
How very dare you? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, exploration. What is in my mind this year? Okay, I have a question of the year rather than a word of the year.
I love it.
My question is, what if the answer has to be yes? Because I am trying to, I guess in a way, defeat self-doubt before it comes up. I'm trying to make the question in my mind, the first question in my mind, instead of it being, oh, can I do this? I don't know if I'm good enough to do this. Oh, I don't know if I'm good enough to try. Take that decision completely out of the way. And if the answer has to be yes, the first question is, okay, well, how are we going to do this then?
Oh, that's cool.
So anything that comes from me this year, I think is going to be preceded by that question as well.
Yes.
That's what I'm going to try.
How could I make it work?
Yeah. To start with how rather than, can I? Oh, I don't know. Because it exhausts me. I've lived with those questions for decades, and they drain a lot of energy.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, let me just question my worthiness for like a decade before I try anything.
Yeah, exactly. I'm taking that question off the table. I'm tired.
Yeah, I'm too tired to ask more questions. Let's just get to the good questions.
Let's just get to the how, okay? How and when.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my favorite practices when we're doing like planning work is like, okay, here's the vision, here's maybe where you want to get to, spend some time doing that. And then it's like, okay, the challenge is 100 things you could do to get closer to that. Like, put it out all on the table, because there are so many options. There are so many paths.
Yeah, exactly.
And by making it like 100, I don't know if anyone doing any of these challenges has actually got to fully 100 yet. But like, if we challenge ourselves to come up with loads of different hows,
yep,
we're thinking creatively, and we're exploring rather than trying to get the perfect first draft.
That is so good, because it's I don't know where I heard it, but someone said to me, okay, 2 + 2 is 4, but so is 3 - 1. So is, 1 times 2.
Yeah.
There's loads of ways to get to it. And I think it helps with the realm of possibility when it feels like there's many ways to get to the same place. I like that.
Yeah. I love that. 2 + 2 + 2 + 2 is 4, but so is 3 + 1. Stop trying to just do the one way.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay, so we're taking out the questioning our worth, and instead we're looking at, okay, but that sounds very like self-esteem building. Like, if you spend a year going, okay, this is a first step that I could take, rather than the worthiness paralysis. Like, taking the action is a great way to actually build up the self-esteem.
Do you know what? I think this is the kind of question I need this year. And we'll know if it works if we talk again this time next year.
Yeah, we'll just cycle back and we'll...
I also have this thing of feeling like I want to live in my life, and I love my journaling, and I feel like my journaling comes off of the page and I use it in my real life. But yeah, I don't want to feel like I'm observing my life or thinking about it in retrospect or planning it, in both life and business and everything in between that all mixes into one anyway. I just want to feel like I'm in my life, doing it, living it, experiencing it. And yeah, we'll see what comes of that in 2022.
I love that. What are the moments that are life to you when you're in life?
Oh, okay. So this is a visual, right? So it's a strange visual that has been with me for some months. So I love lists. I love a list. Sometimes I will come up with things that I've done just so I can tick it off. I'm that person. But the more I've started to think about, the more I've been in this obliger rebellion.
Yeah.
And thinking, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this I don't want this milestone, everything go away. I've kind of rejected the idea of like the checklist. And when I think of a checklist, I'm like, it's these tiny, rigid little boxes, one after the other. And it's like, you do this, tick, you do this, tick, I did that, tick, next, tick. When I'm living in my life, I don't feel like a checklist. And I always think of it of like just this straight line down. Living in my life feels like me kind of spreading my arms out and feeling expansive. It's about breadth rather than that list feeling.
Yeah.
And I feel like that most when I am completely aligned with things that speak to my senses. So like my sense of smell, my sense of touch, my sense of taste, being in community with really good people, times where I forget that a phone even exists and your first instance isn't to record it and view life through a lens of a phone. It's just to be living it and to be experiencing it. So yeah, it's anything that makes me feel like my arms are wide open, kind of like I'm thinking of Rose on the Titanic, kind of like that. Than these kind of rigid little tick boxes.
Yeah, I am like fully stealing that visual. I love that. I have more of a like Maria in The Sound of Music vibe.
Oh, nice.
On the Titanic, but like, yeah, I want to be at the top of a mountain with my arms wide open. Totally.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I like that. Yeah. I like that a lot.
Yes. Amazing. Okay. I like that we have a visual for this sense of like, this is what living life is.
Yeah. For me, it could be very different for somebody else.
Yeah.
But then as much as I say breadth, and that makes me think of being outdoors, I'm a real homebody. So I guess that's also cozying up underneath 4 blankets and just being cozy with candles. I don't know. It's a feeling. It's not necessarily something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like I don't literally want to go and stand on top of a mountain. Like I have this conversation with my friends all the time. Like I have a good friend who like we just have a lot of opposites. We have a lot of commonalities, but we also have, we had this conversation where I was like, to me, freedom is the train pulling into King's Cross. I get off the train and I'm free. Like I am a city person. London is my spiritual home. She's like, I get that feeling climbing a mountain in Scotland. Like it's the same feeling, but we're in totally different actual environments.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm probably somewhere in between. My freedom would be getting on the train and pulling off away from London. Yeah. And just that feeling of like all of like the landscape just kind of whizzing by you. I love being on a train.
Trains are great. Trains are I have a lot of emotional epiphanies on trains.
Same.
Yeah. It's great journaling time also. There's not loads you can do. So you can just like sit, feel some feelings. I'm glad you're the same. That makes me feel like I'm not just the crazy person on the train.
No, there's more. There's many of us. I'm telling you, there's many of us.
Yeah. We're a little secret club. I also don't want to be on the train with anyone. Like I have to.
Yeah, don't come and sit next to me. No.
I don't want to speak. Like I just want to feel my feelings and like watch the trees whiz by. Yeah. Okay, good to know. Amazing. Well, thank you. I mean, Sasha, thank you so much for your time and for your wisdom. And yeah, we're like so much kindred spirit vibes.
Thank you for having a chat with me. I'm always a bit, the word isn't overwhelmed, maybe shocked when people are like, oh, I think you'd be like really good. I'd love to have a chat with you on my podcast. And I'm like, but I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just a ball of confusion writing about it. What do you want to talk about?
Like, me too. Let's talk about it.
But yeah.
Well, I love your ball of confusion and the way that you can ask good questions and share these ideas, and you're a really good writer.
Thank you.
Also,
I'm trying. I'm just seeing where paths lead, and we'll see where we're at. After each thing I try, each experiment, and as we go. So I'm giving myself permission to try, and I think that's the most I can do, you know.
So I really hope that you enjoyed this conversation with Sasha at Frank and Feel. You can go and check out the Imperfect Journaling download. You can find it via the link in the show notes. And of course, I hope that you go and find Sasha online at Frank and Feel and just like hang out with her, take in all of her goodness. I will see you very soon.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Better Business Podcast. I would love it if you could subscribe so that you don't miss any of the new episodes coming out. And of course, share with any creative business owners. I'll see you really soon. Take care. Bye.